All right, so let's go through the homework. Page 329, 330. So number 20. They give you the point, what, 210? So what that means, if we know these are direct variation, there has to be an equation in this form where if you plug in a 2, you get out a 10. What has to be the k that, what are you going to do to a 2 to turn it into a 10? Times 5. So all you do is times by 5. So the answer is y equals 5x. That's all you had to do to find the 5, right? And that's all you have to do for all of those. How do you do number 22? Well, careful. This is an 8, 2. How do you turn an 8 into a 2? What do you multiply 8 by to turn it into a 2? Or 1/4. So the answer is y equals 1/4 x. Yes, you can think I would divide by 4. Well, dividing by 4 and multiplying by 1/4, same thing. Same thing for number 24. You got a 7, turns into a 21. How does a 7 turn into a 21? You times it by 3. That really is all there is. Any other questions on this homework? What'd you guys put for 18? Because this is one thing on your quiz tomorrow. I need you guys knowing how to do this. Negative 15x plus 4y is equal to 0. How do you turn this into a direct variation? How do you make this look like this? What do you got to get by itself? You got to get the y by itself. So, how do I get the y by itself? What do I move first? The 15x. How do I move the 15x? That becomes a positive 15x, right? And I still have the 4y. And now what are you going to do? Divide by 4. So your answer, I would just leave it as 15/4 x. If you want to turn that into a decimal, that's fine too. But earlier on this year, we did a section where you had to solve for different letters, right? Like I gave you an equation like 4xy over z equals 9, and solve it for x, or solve it for y, or solve it for z, right? We did those. This, to me, is the exact same idea. You just always have to solve, in this case, for y, right? Now, here's a quiz question. I'll give you this, okay? And what I'm going to ask you for is the constant of variation. If I ask you for the constant of variation, what am I asking you for? K value. In this question, what's the answer? 15/4, right? So, yeah, solve it for y, and whatever that number is right there in front of the x, that's the constant of variation. Easy? How about 16? Let me ask you guys a question. What method did you guys use for number 16? Which one did you pick? Did you use the equation where you got to solve for the k and use that, or did you do a butterfly? Butterfly? Most people choose the butterfly. And I'm totally, I probably would generally use the butterfly method as well, where it's y is 1/2, so x goes to 3. Find y when x is 1. Right? So, what's your proportion? What is to what as what is to what? What'd you guys write? What'd you put on top? I'd go 1/2 is to, I'd go 1/2 is to 3. As, what would I put here? Y, because that's the other y, is to 1. So how do you solve this? 1 times 1/2 is 1/2. 3 times y, 3y. How do you solve that? You can divide by 3, or what's another way to divide by 3? Multiply by 1/3. The answer is 1/6. So that's really what you should have for number 16. Some of you might have put that as a decimal. What is it? 0.1, something like that. Is that what that is? 0.16 repeating? Any other questions on this? Are we good with this stuff? All right, pass that up. All right, quiz tomorrow, 5 sections. Quick review. Noah's taking all the, all right, sounds good. Noah, you want to put those in the box for me? Since they all elected you today to collect the homework. All right, so here's the goal today. Quick review. I want to make sure you guys are ready for your quiz tomorrow. There's 5 sections, 5.1 through 5.5. We've kind of already reviewed a little bit of 5.1 through 5.4, but I want to quickly redo those. Everybody take a look at page 300. $300. Things we need to know out of this. What makes something a function and what makes something linear? Quiz question. What if I ask you, is this a linear function? If I ask it that way, what has to be true? Does it have to be linear? Does it have to be a function? So what I mean is, would something like this satisfy it? No. Why? It's not linear. Is it a function? Yes, but it's not linear. Okay, what about something like this? Is that a linear function? No, that's not. Why is that not? Because it is linear, right? But it's not a function because it fails the vertical line test. So if I ask it this way, is this a linear function? Both things have to be yeses. It has to be linear and it has to be a function. You can be linear without being a function if it's a vertical line. So that's no. So what kinds of things would make it a yes? A slanted line, that'd be fine. It could be positive or negative slopes, right? Or a horizontal line would work. But a vertical line was not going to be a function, right? How do you tell equation form if it's linear? That's graphic form. Same question is equation form. What kind of things make it not linear? Say that again? Well, we want things in standard form, like 2x plus 4y equals 7. This would be a yes, right? What types of equations would you look at and say, no, that's not going to be linear? Exponents. Absolute values. Square roots, right? What about xy equals 7? No. Now be careful with these because I can simply give you 4 equations, multiple choice, and say, which of these is linear? And A could say x over 4 equals 5 over x, or 5 over y. And the next one could say x over 4 equals y over 5. One of these is yes, one of these is no. What do you got to do really to both of them? Butterfly them. If you butterfly this top one, what do you get? xy equals 20. Is that linear? No. Right? So that's a no. This one, you get 5x equals 4y. Is that going to be linear? Yes, because I could put it in standard form. This in standard form would be 5x minus 4y equals 0. Those are the same thing. So be careful with the equations like this. Make sure you butterfly those to determine are they linear or are they not. Are we good with those? How do you tell in table form? How do you tell if it's linear? Well, if I say 2, 4, and then I put 4, 8. If I put 6 here, what makes it linear? What would... This would have to be 12, right? How do you know? Yeah, it's got to be constant growth. Be careful because the next number could be a 7. Remember, you can't just say up 4, up 4. It's up 4 for up 2, right? Which means it's up 4 over 2, which means really the slope is what? 2. This was up 4 for up 2, which again, 4 to 2 is 2. This is only up 1, right? So if it's up 1, what has to be the increase over here? 2, which means this would have to be a 14. Does that make sense? That makes it linear. What makes it a function? Table form. Yeah, every input has to have a different output, right? Are we good with those? So that's section 1. Be able to recognize in graph form, equation form, and table form. Are we good with those? Okay. Turn the page over to 306. X and Y intercepts. I think you guys pretty much have these mastered. How do you find the x-intercept? You make the y 0. So 2x basically plus 0 equals 28. So x is going to be 14. How do you find the y-intercept? You make the x 0. So 7y equals 28. So y equals 4. If I ask you to use that to find the slope, think about it graphically. You have the point x on the x-axis, it's 14. On the y-axis, it's up 4. What's the slope of that line? What's my rise? How do you go from here to here? But my rise would be, careful, -4. Why is it -4? Because you're going down 4. And then you're going to the right 14. Is that positive 14 or negative 14? That's positive 14. This should be -2/7. Now, also, how do I know the answer has to be negative? It's going downhill, right? What's that? Right, like this line is a negative slope, right? Like it's going downhill. I know this has to be negative. Don't get it wrong because you put positive 2/7 instead of negative 2/7. Okay? On story type problems, what do the x and y intercept generally mean? Starting point and ending point. Like if it was a story problem about a race, the y-intercept would be, I started, I still have 10 miles to run. The ending point would basically tell, the x-intercept would tell me how long it took me to run that race, right? So it's usually a starting point and an ending point. Are we good with x, y intercepts? The next two sections were all about slope. Again, I think you guys kind of have these mastered. Make sure you can do, like I can guarantee you there's going to be a question on the test where I give you a picture of a line. I'll give you 2 points like -3, 7, and 6, 2, and say, find the slope of that line. Now, do I care if you use a slope formula? Nope. Do I care if you just count rise over run? Nope. If you want to just do rise and run, that's fine. You're up at 7, it's got to drop to 2. This would be a rise of -5 because it goes down 5. This is at -3, it's got to go all the way to +6. This would be 9. You could go -5 over 9. Or you could use slope formula. How do you use slope formula? What goes on top? X's or Y's? Y's go on top, and you always subtract. So I could do 7 minus, what's the Y on this one? 2 over -3 minus 6. And you'd get +5 over -9, -5/9. I can guarantee you there will be a question like this on the quiz. Now, it might be easy points like these, where you could do it either way, or I could give you giant numbers where you definitely want to use the slope formula. Okay? Slopes. What's the slope of a horizontal line? Oh, careful. 0. Vertical lines are no slope. Be careful that you know the difference between those. It's easy to mess those up. That's that. Then the only other thing that will be on the quiz is the direct variation stuff from last night. You can guarantee there will be a question. So if you look at page 329, everybody look at 329 again. Last night's homework. I can pretty much guarantee you there will be a question like 2, 3, or 4. I'll give you an equation, ask you if it's a direct variation. It has to be written in the form, it has to be able to be written in the form y equals kx, right? Simple equation. Like number 2 is no because of the 9. Number 3 is yes because you can just divide by 2. Number 4 is yes. And if I ask it if it's direct variation, you should also be able to tell me the constant of variation, or the K value. Easy? And another guarantee, I can guarantee you there's a question like 7 or 8, where you can set up a proportion, or you can do it the other method where you find the K value. Any questions for the quiz? All right, here's what I want you guys to do. Everybody take a look at page 333. This is going to be your homework.